Welcome everyone, Mate Talk time. Awesome to be before you all. Hoping everybody is well across the world. Feeling good, strong. I am. Mate, of course, is my companion for this journey. Hope you have an awesome drink. If you haven't tried mate, you should. It's good for you. Or someone wrote, mate is bad for you. I'm like, I guess a lot of things in life are too, but anyway. Okay, so at the end of this conversation on all things Orto Parisi, the announcements, so there's two of them. One is someone has a chance to win, or there's the promo happening for the 200th episode. That's still running, so have a chance to win. And also, new concept, movie scent. I announced it last week. The movie is going to be The Shining. I'll tell you more at the end of this. Now, Mate Talk, how does it work? So I purposely, and it's both thrilling and it's nerve-wracking, I purposely don't make a decision as to what Mate Talk is going to be about. I just let things happen. I allow myself to be influenced by everything around me, conversations that have started with people, comments that come through. And that's because I want the spontaneity of the whole thing rather than going, today I'm going to talk about this. Unlike my productions that I do on a Sunday, they're already formatted. You know, even to the point sometimes they're like 4 or 5 weeks already planned. Mate Talk, like a free-flowing river, just whatever happens. And this week I was struggling a bit. I'm like, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? And actually Sandra knows, so she's always like jokes. So what's Mate Talk about this week? I'm like, I don't know yet. We'll see what's going to happen. On the weekend, on Saturday, we got together the Ollies. We call ourselves the Ollie family. We all got together, and I was talking to Dad, and he said to me, he goes, I'm just Italian. I'm Italian. He goes, I just love Italian food. There was a lot of food that was, of course, like a picnic. Always does. Everyone brings a little bit of something, everyone's sharing. I just love Italian food. And what he was referencing is the salami and the pecorino and the cheese and the olives and the bread and all that sort of stuff. He goes, I just love this. Now, for those who might not know Melbourne, we have a very strong multicultural sort of influence from everyone. There's every culture in the world just about in Melbourne. And so we have access to all this great food. But he's like, I'm done with all that. There was all good. I just want my Italian food. And I jokingly said, you love wog food. That's what it is. I'll tell you about what that means shortly. Then he produced his phone, and he had a DNA testing thing done. Where did the ancestors come from? And 36% were coming from Calabria, the south in Italy. 32% were coming from northern Italy. So he's like, I'm 68% Italian. He goes, yeah, I was born in Argentina, but I'm Italian through and through. So I thought, you know what? Mate Talk. This was on Saturday. It's going to be on Italian. I'm going to celebrate Italy. I'm going to celebrate great Italian perfumers. And I started thinking, and brands, Xerjoff and Melfusciuni and Anyway, the other day I was wearing Terroni, and Sandra's like, I love that fragrance. I love the smell. And I'm like, you know what it is? She's like, yeah. She goes, I think I do. Anyway, she comes up close. I've got it here. And it's it has a very pronounced, and I thought she was going to sort of pull back and like, ugh, I was wrong. I don't like that one. But she's like, I love that fragrance. And so my wife, she's Calabrian. She was born here, but her her ancestors are all from Calabria, and I'm like, okay, you know what? We're gonna do it on Orto Parisi. We're gonna celebrate Italians. We're gonna keep with this Italian. We're gonna celebrate these wogs. Talking about my dad and my wife, and this deep-rooted sense of land, and like there's something more than just. And the fragrances from Orto Parisi are more than just a perfume. There's storyline and there's intensity in each of them. Boom. So, Orto Parisi, here we go. Now, if you want to know more about Alessandro Gualtieri, so I'm staying on that Italian theme. You can watch this production here, and this actually breaks down whether he's the question was asked, is he a genius or is he actually just a really good marketer? And just to sort of burst your bubble, he's both. And I cover into detail what I actually think about all things Alessandro. I think he's a genius, but he's also, as in a creator, but he's also very clever in the way he markets himself. The word orto, I need to say this, the word orto in Italian means vegetable garden. So the name Orto Parisi is in reference to his grandfather, whose surname was Parisi, and it's my grandfather's vegetable garden, essentially. And it's about the organic nature, the realness, the soul that lives within a garden, you know, whether it's compost, whether it's the earth itself, whether it's the plants and all those pieces. There's something real in that, and he wanted to celebrate. In Argentina, however, Orto, this is why I was first drawn to the brand, means your butthole. And how do I know this? My father would say when I was a boy, and maybe I was a little bit of a troublemaker, my father would say, if you're not careful, te voy a dar una patada en el orto, which meant that it's more than I'm just going to kick your butt. I'm going to kick your butt so precise that it's going to go in your butthole. So when Dad would say that, I knew that I was pushing the envelope and I needed to stop. Otherwise, I was going to get up una patada en el orto, and I didn't want that. So when I saw Orto Parisi, I'm like, what? What in the world is this about? Like I said, later on discovering that, in fact, it's a garden. But in true Alessandro style, and I'm going to go through a few of these today, I think he's just pushing buttons. Maybe he knew. Maybe he had an Argentinian friend who said to him, you should call this Orto. It'll be funny. All right, so the first fragrance that I fell in love with, there were two actually, that I really enjoyed. Sorry, I'm just looking at the time because some people write at 6 minutes and 41 seconds, the review starts, you'll thank me later. So anyway, there, 6:41. So the two fragrances that I got into very early on, one was Seminalis and the other one was Bergamusk. Now Bergamusk is not in this lineup, and that's not because I don't like it anymore. I still love it. It's become my son's signature scent almost, Nelson. That boy, it's almost like he perspires Bergamusk. Every time I smell this kid, he's always got that. So for me, it's become him. You know, when I spray it, I'm like, oh, Nelson. The other thing too is that because there's others, it's like Brutus. I love Brutus. However, when it comes to my reach and use sort of qualification, these are the ones that I'm constantly reaching and using. So Bergamusk, great fragrance, but not one that I've put in this lineup. But I do recommend it to you. It's a fantastic fragrance. All right, sorry, 7 minutes and 35 seconds. It starts. So the one that I want to put forward as, in not particular order, but one that from where do you start? Seminalis is fantastic. So the scent profile here, while still being animalic and sassy and a little bit on the human side, in all the fragrances I find that they sort of amplify our humanness. You know, if you don't shower for 3 or 4 days, you begin to create an odor around you. You know, you have your own sass, and I find that Seminalis leans into the beautiful part of our sass. You know, there is a beautiful smell. I mean, I've said this many times. Kiss your loved one in this area here, and for me that is I guess the sweetness of Seminalis. You know, there's a muskiness. There's you know, and when I say kiss them in the morning when they're, you know, unshowered, yada yada, there's a tenderness in this area here, which is very much like Seminalis. Seminalis, and this is my little party trick that I love playing with people. What does it mean? Well, it means semen. I'm sure most of you guys know, but it's a Latin word for semen. And everything about it, you know, in true Alessandro style, you know, this very milky, sort of weird looking lid, the color of the juice itself, all that sort of stuff. But what's he trying to say? For me, he's trying to say that this is an amorous, it's a bonding, as in relationship fragrance. This is a date night fragrance with a little bit more of a clever sass to it. Sometimes, you know, date night fragrances are sweet and gourmand and, you know, caramel popcorn, yada yada. Whereas here, there are some of those pieces in there, but it's done in a way that keeps the humanity of the person wearing, as opposed to masking that humanity with, you know, other smells. I find that when it opens, it does have a super divine, creamy almond-like buttery effect. I do think buttery popcorn, so that is that sort of very not silky, but it's funny, it can be silky, but skin is always connected to it. So I can see that sort of dripping on someone's flesh, you know, not hot because it'll burn, but yeah, I do feel it, that it intermingles with humanity, as I mentioned. The opening is very sweet and very inviting and very, you know, sort of alluring. You want to draw closer to it, but there is that, as I said, that sassiness to it, the musk in there. As it moves through, I do find that I get like a rose sort of coming through like a floral, rosy touch, and it dries down to, there is vanilla, but not in the Madagascan yada yada. There is some kind of vanillic sort of touch. For me, I'm going to put it down to tonka, in that tonka has that almond, vanilla, creaminess, touch of sweetness, but the woodiness is still, you know, sort of present. It's a joyous fragrance. I mean, you can tell. All right, so I've had this for this being an early fragrance, but I've hit it pretty hard. I mean, you know, it's one of the fragrances that I enjoy wearing. Excuse me, and one that is just beautiful. I love the scent profile. Here's the interesting thing, and this is what I just saw. Sandra, my wife, loves it. Not up close, but in the air, there is an attraction to the fragrance. You know, it has an allure to it. My father does not like it. This is early on. I remember I was wearing it. Dad's like, "What are you wearing? That smells weird." And in true Argentinian style, they're very blunt. The old school Argentinians, very blunt. They just say, none of this filter and, you know, they just tell you. He goes, "What? It smells horrible." And I said, "Really?" I'm like, "This is gorgeous." And I got him to smell, and he's like, "Hijo," my son. "No." He's like, "That's horrible." It's a horrible fragrance. So just be careful. Any of these Orto Parisis, don't blind buy. I would recommend you test on skin, see how it works on you, and how it works on the people who are in contact with you often. Okay, so Sandra, my wife, contact with me often, and I'm glad that she loves me wearing this fragrance. I love wearing the fragrance. It smells amazing. It is a quiet moderate, meaning that it always has presence, but it's not overtly, like, doesn't push itself out. Covered in perfume, and Seminalis is being drowned out a little bit by the ones that are around me. And actually, I just got another one just now, and I'll tell you that in a second. But a great fragrance to wear, beautiful, amorous style, date night. It's a sexy fragrance. All right, next one is another in true Orto Parisi or Alessandro style, Stercus, Latin for poo or feces. I did a video, here it is, and I called it The Sweet Smell of Poo. When that video popped, my father rang me, and he's like, what in the what? He's like, what does it really smell like? I said, yeah, it has like a fecal, poopy kind of quality to it. And he's like, you guys are crazy, you know that? You people are crazy. So to cut to the chase, it is celebration of oud, and oud being that, you know, wonderful, woody, fecal, sassy, barnyard, all those things that you hear. But if you want to jump into like an oud fragrance, if you're sort of new to it, actually, I don't think anybody's new to oud anymore. I think most people are already into oud. But if you want a beautiful oud fragrance that is delicate and well balanced, then I would recommend to use Stercus. I find that it's not overtly over the top, too much, you know, stinky poo or anything of that nature. There is a sweetness in here, and I find that when it opens, it does this wonderful balance of opening with a sweet, boozy element. There's like a wine barrel sort of boozy effect, and then it moves to a boozy, woody. So it does move into now woody, and you're getting something else, and then finally it goes into the, what did I call it? A dark, woody place. And that dark woody is definitely that oud, definitely that fecal pieces to it. There is a bit more of that. I find that it's definitely a very much a repulsion, attraction style of fragrance. Up close might not be your jam, but in the air, just let it do its thing, and you're getting all these pieces, the sweetness, you're getting the booziness, you're getting the woodiness, and a touch of that animalic nature to it. As I was preparing, I asked Sandra, because I know that she said this to me a few times, she loves the smell of horse manure. We've been like on farms, or if we anything to do with horses, and she just likes, I'm not a fan of horse poop, but my wife is. And I asked why exactly. And so she's saying that the horse manure has this balance between a sweetness, there is a sweet element to it, there is a hay-like quality, there is an earthiness, and then there is the animalic. It does have, obviously it's manure, it's a poo-like quality to it, but she finds that the balance between that is somewhat appealing, and I find that this is Stercus for me. Sandra does not like this fragrance too much in the air. I wear this one a lot for myself. I enjoy this as if I want a good woody fragrance, if I want something that I know that I'm going to be in an outdoor area. Stercus is fantastic to let it breathe. In an office, it might be a bit much because it is, in my opinion, very oud-leaning fragrance. I find that it has between a moderate, so in that mid-level, to a quiet. But it just depends on who's around you. Sandra picks up on it straight away, and she's like, not for me. Whereas I've been wearing it other times, and I don't get like, ooh, that's a weird smell. So I'm gonna say it's a midpoint on that moderate scale, and I find that you get 8 hours plus without a problem. Boom, Stercus. Massive recommendation. Big love. My father doesn't like it. That's another one. I'm like, here, spray it, smell it. He's like, hijo. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Yeah, so he's not a fan of it. The next one, bing bada boom. Okay, this is Viride, and in Latin means green. Very much like the juice. This is a gorgeous fragrance. Full stop. So. As I was preparing, and this one here took me the longest because I'm like, because I can say it's kind of like a fougere, I can, tick all these boxes, but to really convey what it means to you, not only from its scent profile, but what does it mean to you from the feeling you get. And I find that the Orto Parisis are visceral fragrances. This is not Aventus, and nothing against Aventus. I do like Aventus, but this is not, this is not a passive experience. I find, and I know I'm saying too much. As in, I'm getting it's getting a little bit. None of these fragrances are going to save the world or alleviate world hunger and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is that these change your is it physiology, your mind and your body. It changes you. They actually translate or transmit something to you from their scent profile. And I find that Viride is one that actually does something to me, makes me think differently, makes me feel differently, makes me see things in a different light. I try to sort of define it, so before I go into the breakdown of notes, I try to define it, and for me, this is how did I say it? I put here, it's a real masculine fragrance, but what does that even mean? And I think it embodies good masculinity. And I know that nowadays there's, I guess a push against, embracing for men, embracing their masculinity. I find that in media, and I'm walking a very dangerous line here because a lot of people feel strongly about this, and this is not a political video, by the way. This is a video on perfumes. That sometimes in media, men, fathers, are either portrayed as buffoons, kind of goofy and don't really know stuff, or as tyrants. And I'm like, can't we just be normal? Why can't we just be, just normal humans with flaws, but with a desire to do good? You know what I mean? I mean, that's how, and so to break it down, that's how I see myself. I'm just a normal human with a desire to do good. And I know that a lot of the men around me, actually just about every man around me, is the same person, flawed. They have their own, things that, they do. But these are individuals who want to do good and want to help others and, and assist and et cetera, et cetera. And so, yeah, so Viride captures that, captures the goodness of masculinity, the strength, the stoic, the dependability, you can be at ease that this individual is there to help in the situation. He's not Superman, that's what it sounded like, but it's not Superman, but it's someone who's just like, he knows what he's doing and can be depended on, relied on. Okay, going to the fragrance. Being that it's a fougere, it does have those beautiful fougere pieces, and meaning like it has the herbal elements. Like on first spray, you get these wonderful herbal pieces, rosemary, sage, just beautifully sharp and inviting. There are woody elements to it. There are mossy elements to it as it dries down. I'm going to say again, there is oud, but it's been really tempered back in place of the moss and patchouli and the earthiness and things of that nature. I do love, I've always compared it to sleeping in a forest, but it's a good forest, not a haunted one. And you wake up in the morning and the earth, the forest has transferred its strength and its profile to you. And so you're getting this beautiful earthiness, you're getting the dampness of the earth, you're getting the foliage. Nothing is rotting, nothing is pungent or off-putting. Everything is inviting and welcoming and strengthening. I love this fragrance. Again, watch its production. You'll see that, and I purposely, just as a disclaimer, did not watch these productions to remind myself of what, so I'm hoping that there's no disparity between what I said here ages ago and what I still feel now today. I find that this is a very comfortable, moderate fragrance. It has great presence, great projection. It does give you 8 hours plus, so it has a great sort of presence around you. I also find that it is, and I put here, you're fortifying and calming. This is a really good, I got it, I can do this thing. The sense of calm. It's a great fragrance to take out on to the office. It's a great fragrance to go out on a date. It's a great fragrance to just to wear as an everyday. You can dress up, you can dress it down. Just a great fragrance. Oh, okay, yeah. You can dress up and dress down, but never playful. And I'm glad that I wrote this, because I have said in the past, I don't know if a younger person, and it's not because they're not allowed to, I just don't know whether it would fit a younger person's profile, like in the mid-20s. And that's because sometimes, and I'm talking about myself, as a younger man, I guess I was a bit playful, a bit, just not necessarily not take things seriously, but it was after my daughter was born at 24 that I thought, I need to really get myself focused and say, whereas prior to that, always up to mischief and always playing practical jokes and yada yada. So that's what it is. So it's not an Aventus, for instance. Again, I go back to Aventus. Well, really giving Aventus a go for her. But Aventus is a lot more playful. Anybody can wear this thing, whereas I feel like someone who has their act together can pull this one off better. I've written, so again on that episode I said I didn't think a younger man could wear. I've had a lot of younger men write in to say, I wear this fragrance, I love it, it fits me, it suits me, it's a great fragrance to wear, it's a fortifying, and I totally agree. I'm gonna stop because this thing's gonna pop. I'll be back. And back. The next three are gorgeous. I've spoken about this recently, I'm gonna bring it up again, and I was debating whether to put it into the lineup, but again, I've been wearing it, I love wearing it. As I prepared for that past video, I was wearing it again, I'm like, sweetheart, you're gorgeous. So Megamare, I do recommend this fragrance. It's one of those, and reading comments, it's one of those that's still very polarizing, which I think is really cool personally. There are some people who still slowly converting over to it. This one took me the longest. I knew that Megamare was a great fragrance. I found it very hard to adopt, and that's because the early part of the fragrance is approachable. I mean, it's still kind of weird and unusual, but then as it begins to turn, as it begins to go into that algae, deep sea, musky, rotting, weird sort of profile, I said musky, that's when it lost me. It was cooking my brain. It was like, too much. I like comparing Megamare to the scene of being at the shore and traveling into the ocean. And to define that even better, this is not the Hamptons. So you're at a seaside village, but we're not doing anything pristine. We're not doing anything sort of well manicured. This is a seaside village in Croatia. Nothing against Croatia. The reason why I say that, it actually reminded me of a village in Croatia where the boats are there, you can smell the different elements close to the shore of the ocean as a whole. Whether it's the algae, whether it's the fish, whether it's the things that are in that area, give you all those pieces, but it's pleasant. It's actually very welcoming because you're at the shoreline, you see. And so it's like being in this boat and then beginning to travel. So it opens up with these beautiful watery notes, and I get like a cucumber. Someone wrote celery, and I thought, yeah, celery. There is that sort of watery green sort of scent profile. There are some lighter florals in there. There's a little bit of musk and a touch of that seaweed algae. And then as it begins to dry down and move through, it goes into a much darker place. It also reminded me of Godzilla -1, where Godzilla is underneath and all the fish are coming up all dead. So it's that. You're now in the dark ocean. You know, there's now a dead fish and rotting this and rotting that coming through, and all of a sudden there's all this other musky algae intensity that begins to produce itself. And it's like, what in the world is happening? The biggest mistake I think people do is bring their nose to it. Don't, if you're not comfortable with that, even to me, to this day, I don't really enjoy inhaling. I love smelling Stercus. Smell Stercus all day long. I love the scent profile that it has. Whereas Megamare, it's just a nice, gentle smell to, because I know it's there. But I try to, I just let it do its thing. I was spraying, so Sandra was in the office just before, I was spraying these fragrances, and I've just sprayed Megamare, and she called out, whatever you sprayed then, it's beautiful. That is beautiful. Now, again, I've been spraying everything else. And so I'm like, okay, so what was in the air or what is in the air now? She's like, no, in the air. And I'm like, okay, so let's do a party trick. I said, is it this one? And she's like, oh, that is disgusting. What in the world is that? I'm like, that's the one that's in the air. That's the one that you said is beautiful. So Megamare is one. Just spray, leave it alone. I don't recommend that. This is one that you do for a closed environment. Whenever I've worn Megamare, it's about going outdoors. I mean, you do you. I mean, if you want to close the door and do a Dutch oven, do it. My recommendation is let it breathe, let it go out. It becomes a lot more pleasant. It becomes a much more pleasurable experience for those people around you. And also, it's a fragrance where, look, it's actually quite surprising how beautiful it is in the air versus how, bringing it up close to you, and how beautiful it is in the air in a larger space as opposed to a confined environment where it becomes overwhelmingly too much. But you do you. Again, Megamare, I'd recommend it. It's gorgeous, and it's one of the classics in the range. The next one is where we started this whole conversation. That's Terroni. So let me break down, because I love the name and I love the fragrance. For those who watch the breakdown of this, I voted this as my #1 fragrance. It is primarily because, one, I do enjoy it, but it is primarily because it's a fragrance that Sandra is, I don't know, I think it's, again, maybe in her DNA that she's drawn to this fragrance. She loves the scent profile, whether it's in the air or even up close. It has a unique profile. I do find that it's a tad linear, so where it starts and then where it goes is in the same sort of vein. I mean, it has different sort of intensity to it, obviously. The word Terroni it's a derogatory word, and it's quite a harsh derogatory word. Which means you're a southerner. So the northern Italians didn't like, these southerners coming into their area. They found them uncouth, unkept. They found them dirty and, like dirt underneath your nails, and just, uncultured, basically, and would call them Terronis. Now the word, so to draw a similarity, the harshness of the word, because I once, and it was in conversation, I never called Meo Fashuni this, but it is in conversation, and he was trying to explain to me how the northerners sometimes feel, and I said, oh, you mean like Terroni? And I remember his face, and it reminded me of the same expression that my father would give or gives me when I say the word wog. And it's a little bit hurtful. Meo's family are from the south of Italy. And so nowadays it's a little bit less intense, I guess, but it's still a derogatory word, and it was used to put somebody down. As I mentioned, here in Australia, 1950s, 60s into 70s, the word wog was very, very harsh. Not to the same level as the N-word in the US, but it definitely had the same sort of cutting connotations to it. You know, it basically meant you were not one of us. You were a lesser class of individual. Nowadays, for us, we, as in my generation, we've embraced, we call ourselves wogs. It's wog food that we're eating. We really sort of celebrate that, I guess, the ethnicity of what that is. But when I say that word to my father, his expression was very similar to Mel's expression when I said the word Terroni. So Terroni, again, Alessandro did it on purpose, was a two-part. One is to, I guess, empower the word for positive, and also to remind where his family's from, that they were Southerners. And one thing that this fragrance does really, really well is really embrace the smoky element and the earthy element of that landscape. I mean, it's not something that I'm familiar with. I've been to the South many times. Stories that my mother-in-law told of where she grew up. Actually, this is a great photo. We went to visit my mother-in-law's village. I was there with my father-in-law and Sandra, and it was a nostalgic walk back into the past to see the way it was, and this is what Terroni is all about. And I go back, I think this is why it resonates with Sandra's DNA. There's something in there in her soul that stirs when Terroni is in the air. She really appreciated it. Okay, so what is it? On opening, so all the way through, it's smoky. Smoky woods is where it goes. Now, smoky sometimes can give you the impression of smoked meats. Sometimes if you smell like a smoked salami and things like that, it has that smoky piece to it. This is not. It always remains in a very beautiful, sublime, smoky, woody aspect to it. If you also say smoky and woody, you think of a smokehouse. I've been inside a smokehouse. It's very intense, very, really like almost acrid. There's an acrid sense in there. Whereas this is not it either. So the only way I can define it, because there is a sweetness, so think of like a burnt caramel. So where there's a dark, not molasses, but there's a dark sweetness, but it's now been burnt, and so it's not as sweet as it could be. And this is what I find. So for me, it's a beautiful smoky, woody, caramel sweetness from this fragrance that starts quite intense. You feel like you're at a campfire when it opens, very smoky, very pronounced, and then slowly migrates itself to this beautiful, sweet, woody, smoky place. All the way through, the fragrance is divine, is gorgeous. Actually, just as I did that, this thing popped and I could smell it. There is a touch of oud in here too. So there is an oud. I'm going to say oud is across all these fragrances. There is a touch of that oud, but it never oversteps itself like it does with Stercus, for instance, or the oud is quite pronounced. Here, the sweetness, the smokiness, and that woodiness, and then the oud. It's a super refined fragrance. I love it. Gorgeous. I also love the lid on it, on this here too. It's a volcanic rock, so again, dealing or sort of delving into the land, delving into, you know, the creation of land mass and soil and things of that nature. When it comes to performance, sorry, last thing, it does have an ash element to it also. So think of a fire that has gone out, and you're getting now the embers there, the ash. You do get a piece of that too, the you know, nice wood. You get that sweet wood, ash, smokiness. Yeah, anyway, great fragrance. And one that, as I said, I really love the fact that, you know, Alessandro really embraced his past by calling it Terroni. The last one that I've now adopted, so Ware Bergamusk. I love the fact that it's such a pronounced and prolonged citrus fragrance that I would wear. Can't wear it anymore. So in its place has come Risvelium. Love this fragrance. So I even made the bold claim, those who saw the episode with Daniel, where you should start here. Daniel nearly did like a backflip and like, no way, it's, you know, it's too intense. Maybe it's just me. start here. This is, I find this as a very approachable fragrance. I love its harsh energy that this fragrance has. Having said that though, and if you watch this episode with Elias, I had him blindfolded and he was smelling different fragrances. This was the last one he smelled and he was like, whoa, what is this? This is green. This is like, you know, I feel like I've cut the lawn. It's sharp and it's green, and he couldn't. Actually, when the video ended, we left the cameras rolling and he's like, there's no way I can wear this. So maybe it's just me. Having said that though, test it, because this is stunning. This is a really beautiful new inclusion from, or in the Orto Parisi category. What I love about it is it opens. Yes, it's still, I mean, I don't get the sharpness of the green that was there when I first experienced it. For me, it was like super green, but not cannabis. Sometimes I find that if it goes too green, it goes into that cannabis territory. I find that this is like mowed lawn. You grab a big clump of that mowed lawn grass and inhale that, so it has a mixture of green and grass and earth and all that sort of, all those pieces. That's what I get. Intermingled with citrus, and I get a burst of different citruses. Everything is aggressive, not aggressive. Everything is pronounced. Nothing is sweet. Nothing is confectionery. So it could be, yeah, maybe you can classify that as aggressive. But I get like grapefruit, I get lemon, I get a bitter orange, I get pomelo, I get, I wrote another one, there's one more in there, lime, and I get lime. So these are these, you know, very distinct citruses that are really coming through. I don't just get grapefruit. Initially, I thought it was grapefruit, but the longer I spend with the fragrance, I'm like, oh, I'm getting like a bitter orange, or I'm getting like a lemon, I'm getting like a lime. And then I get, which is wild, and I've actually smelled this knowing that this is what came into my mind, to see if this was the case, I get like a sour passion fruit. So think of maracuja. I get the sourness of it, and that happens probably about 15, 20 minutes in. I'm getting this tangy maracuja passion fruit sort of piece to it. For me, this is also a little bit of a linear fragrance too. What it is, or where it starts, it does sort of elongate itself to its final place. So initially, those citruses, that green, all those elements begin to sort of really sort of fight for dominance there. It then begins to develop this leathery touch. It begins to sort of, you get this leather accord coming through, this earthiness also coming through. And I find that at the start of the fragrance, it's a citrus leather fragrance. The citrus is dominating, the leather is hanging around. And then all of a sudden does pop, it flips, and now you're getting a leather citrus fragrance. And I find that the leather really pronounces itself, and the citruses are still there, but not as dominant as they were on that opening. It could be Kuyom's little sister or little brother. They are, where Kuyom is very distinct and dirty leather and oud and earth and all those sort of more guttural pieces. Here, the leather is pronounced, so it's never a clean leather scent. It's never suede or anything like that. There is a dirty leather piece to it, but it's not as you know, deep in the earth and a little bit on that sort of decaying side as Kuyom can be. Here, it, because of the citrus notes, I'm going to say, keeps it somewhat fresh. I've been wearing it. I wore it yesterday. I've been wearing it today. Give me 1 second, please. I'm about to. It's been about 2 hours. I'm still getting, so leather is now the dominant force, but I'm getting those beautiful citrus notes still popping in there. Grapefruit was the one that sort of pronounced itself more cleanly to me, or clearly to me, along with green notes. And what green notes could they be? Could be petitgrain. There's like a sharp greenness to it, as opposed to a vetiver, which is a little bit more earthy-like. It could be vetiver too. Anyway, gorgeous fragrance. Really love it, love it, love it. But don't blind buy any of these, please, because I don't want to be held responsible for that. I strongly recommend testing them out, but please test out Risvelium. It's worth it. It's such a great fragrance, and if Bergamus doesn't do it for you, then this baby will. I don't spray a lot, and actually in closing there, so you're gonna get comfortable 12 hours without a problem on this fragrance, and 24 is the reality. Purposely, I wore it yesterday. I woke up this morning. I think I've shared before that I always put my hand on my chest to see, you know, can I smell my fragrance from the day before? And as soon as I'm half asleep, I'm doing this. and like, oh, Risvelium. So Risvelium, 24 hours. And then when it comes to its projection, you're getting a very confident moderate. It has, for me, it has good push. 2 sprays. 2 sprays, 3 sprays being crazy, all right? So I find that this has great presence, great fragrance, fun to wear, and done. Orto Parisi, baby. So they're the 6 that I would recommend to you. If you're new to Orto Parisi, any one of these is a great place to begin. I would start with Seminalis. Really, just check that out. That'll give you a good, soft introduction to the musky, animalic punchiness that Alessandro loves to explore with these fragrances. If you are already into Orto Parisis, then any of those 6 I would recommend as one to, venture deeper into that landscape. I'd love to hear your thoughts, actually. Tell me your thoughts on these, because I do love that with Risvelium, Daniel was like, no, do not start here. He was actually he was quite passionate about that. Where I'm like, 100% start here. So I'd love to hear where would you start? Where would you migrate to? What do you love? And did I make a mistake in not including Brutus? I'm sorry, Brutus. But next time. I'm going to stop one last time, and then I'm going to go into the announcements. Back. Can I just say, I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed these Orto Parisis. I love the sharing on this brand. It was one that just I fell in love with early in my journey. Even before the channel, I was already had fully invested in these guys. And I'm so happy for Alessandro that his brand has gained such great success. I mean, there's a longer story where he took a massive gamble and did something that was very passionate. He's very passionate about. I commend him. Good on him. It's good that he explored it in a deeper way and stayed true to him rather than sort of not so much bend to the market, because at the start people were going, what in the world are these things? Whereas now, the perfume lover really has really adopted these and love the scent. So good on him. I commend him for it. There's a promo going on for those who might actually. Before I go there, if you enjoyed this content, if you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love you to subscribe. As always, it's a great support of the channel. It gives us a thumbs up that we're doing okay. So by subscribing, it's a great acknowledgement to the work we're doing on the NFC channel. As I mentioned, the promo that's happening, the 200th episode that was launched a couple weeks ago, the promo is, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, to be a subscriber, and then put the words Mate Talk 200, what did I say? This is so you can either use the emoji or actually write it. And what it does, it allows us to see who's entered. Here's the wheel, check it out. As you can see, the single wedges are those people who've just written that. But if you want to have more presence on that wheel, like here, basically it's 3 entries, then all you have to do is take a photo of Mate Talk, so me in the background, and a drink in the foreground, all right? So you can put your mate, you can put your coffee, whatever it is that you're enjoying Mate Talk with, and send me that photo. Now, you can either send it directly to Instagram, here's my handle, or email it to me, get it across to me if you don't have socials, and I will post it on your behalf. Just let me know your name so I can, good luck, such and such. And then you'll go into the wheel and you'll have the chance to win the following prizes. If it lands on you when we start spinning that wheel and there's only a single wedge, you'll win this, which is sorry, I had it upside down. The Electric Woods Extrait. It's a full bottle. I'll send it anywhere in the world. If it so happens, all right, so if you single person, it lands on you, that's what you'll get. But if it so happens that you've got 3 entries, not only will you win this, but you'll also win this, which is, for those who might not know, I've released my own fragrance called OLFACTIVE Traveler. It's celebrating Rome, Florence, and Milan. I was going to say Spain. Go figure. Might be something for the future. So Rome, Milan, and Florence. We're about to release 2 new fragrances. So in fact, you'll get this beautiful traveler set, which is our Discovery kit. It's a leather-bound wallet, with inside 10 ml fragrances. One of the fragrances will be something that you select from the current collection, and the other two will actually be the brand new fragrances that are about to come out. So if it lands on you and you've got 3, you'll get this plus this, bada bing. Thanks for coming. So make sure you join. Make sure you enter the comp. All right, last thing, and that is the movie scent. This is a new concept I want to sort of play around with. I'm reaching out to my people on the NFC Discord. I'm just going to settle on a date, because what I want to do is actually go onto my Discord and do a bit of a talk about this with everybody in the room, essentially. The idea is that I'd love everyone to watch the movie The Shining. This is the homework now. I would love you to watch The Shining. One thing that I love doing, and I do it often, is whenever someone says, you know, in the movie, it smells like, or you smell great, or someone puts on perfume, I'm always thinking, what is that fragrance, you know, or what does a scene or a person smell like in a movie? So I'm going to apply it to The Shining in a couple of weeks' time. I'll give you my breakup of what I'm smelling in different parts of this movie. What is Jack Nicholson's character actually wearing, et cetera, et cetera. But I'd love you guys, your input too. So I'd love you to tell me what you think is actually the smells that are occurring in this film, and then we can sort of have a bit of fun with this. That's the idea, just having a bit of fun. Boom, and settled. Thanks everyone. I'm gonna do Nasomato. So I've done the Orto Parisis. I know that Alessandro's about to release a brand new fragrance. Here it is here. I love all the clever marketing behind it. I'm intrigued by the scent profile of it. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be another great fragrance from the genius that is Alessandro Gualtieri. Thanks everyone, we'll see you guys all on the next episode.